regularly scheduled City Council meeting. It is 7:31 p.m. All members of council are present, and I'm calling the meeting to order. At this time, we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Tonight, our invocation will be led by Pastor Dent.
Good evening, Mayor and Council and citizens of College Park. It's good to see you. Let us pray. Almighty and everlasting Father, we honor your presence in this council meeting. We give thanks to you for the United States and its government and your constant care for our country. We hold up in prayer before you the men and women who are in positions of authority, the president, senators, governors, our mayor and councilmen, the staff, law enforcement officers, firefighters, and all those who are in authority over us in any way. May you grace them with strength, wisdom, and protection from all harm and danger. Pour out your blessings in every area of their lives. Your word declares that blessed is the nation and the people whose God is Lord. We pray for divine order and significant process and progress for this body in dealing with the items on the agenda. Guide their thoughts and actions so that they may have a successful outcome. May the Holy Spirit identify the key issues and bring forth a peaceful resolution. Now, Lord, bless our business community and may they thrive. Heal the sick among us and comfort those who are hurting. Hear our prayer. In the name of Jesus Christ, I pray. Amen.
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 Thank you. Item number 2 is additions, deletions, amendments, or changes to the agenda. I have one addition. Consideration of intergovernmental agreement with Fulton County for the CARES Act Municipal Reimbursement Program.
I move to approve the addition.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 All right. Thank you,
Madam
John.
Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I have one deletion, if I may, please.
All right.
And it's actually to table item 8D from the regular session agenda concerning legacy mechanical services. We need to incorporate considerations regarding the police precinct substation as well. So we'd like to bring that back on October 5th if we could.
All right.
I move to approve.
Is there a second?
I second.
Second.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 All right. Thank you, gentlemen. And the consideration of that IGA, what number would that be, Mr. Moore?
We can go ahead and make that the new business item. So that would be the new 10A or 10B.
10B. Okay.
10B is fine.
10B. All right. Great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Anything else in regard to that? I think we've covered all those changes. All right. Item 3A is approval of regular session minutes dated September 8th, 2020. Did anyone have any changes? I have one. All right. Not hearing any others. On line 425, it is page 10 of 14 of those minutes. The question that is credited to me is the crowd function still going on. It was actually funding, not function. So FUNDING on line 425. I don't have anything else beyond that. Does anyone else? All right, hearing none.
I move to approve with those
All right.
changes.
Is there a second?
I second.
Second.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right. Hearing none. We'll move to the workshop session minutes from September 8th.
I move to approve as presented.
Is there a second?
I second.
All right. Thank you, Councilman Allen. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 All right, thank you, gentlemen. Heard 4 there, so it is unanimous. Item number 4 is proclamations, resolutions, plaques, and announcements. I don't believe we have any this evening. So we'll move to item number 5, which is remarks of citizens. Ms. Moore.
Yes, we have several comments. One moment. Okay, the first comment is from Karen Corbin. And it reads, Karen Corbin, 1866 Cambridge Avenue, College Park, Georgia, 30337. And it reads, Dear Mayor and Council, my family and I recently located from Walker Avenue to Cambridge Avenue after renovating a home. I am writing out of concern for the safety on our street. I'm absolutely shocked to find that we now live on a street where cars travel over the speed limit with no stop signs for many blocks. It is absolutely terrifying. People think the flashing light at Hemp Hill and Cambridge is a 4-way stop, and there are too many near misses and 1 accident in the 6 months since we've lived here. I'm terrified for the safety of the children, neighbors, and pets that live around us. I'm asking that the mayor and council consider making Hemp Hill and Cambridge a 4-way stop to slow cars down before something happens that can't be changed. Thank you in advance for your consideration. Sincerely, Karen Corbin. Okay, on to the next comment. And this is from Miss Emma Shell Dudley, address 3863 King Edward Trail, Southwest Atlanta, Georgia, 30331. And it reads, Dear Mayor and Council, I have been involved with College Park for over 60 years. I would like to publicly thank Councilmember Roger Gay in Ward 4 for all the hard work and time he gave to Laster Chapel United Methodist Church on Yates Road. Councilmember Gay fought to stop a warehouse in our community. After that, he met with Duke Weeks at our church with myself and other trustees to make sure that they gave back to our community. He helped our trustees negotiate with the warehouse to redo our parking lot, fix our air conditioner, and have plenty of buffer from their building to our church. After the warehouse was built, Councilmember Gay met with logistics company that leases the warehouse and helped them hire local residents for employment. He worked with Public Works and building and inspections to get large no tractor trailer signs at Yates Road and White City Road to make sure large trucks don't turn down our residential streets. I also want to thank Council Ambrose Clay for supporting Councilmember Gay in making sure this warehouse would not lower our quality of life. Be blessed and stay safe. Emma Shell Dudley, Trustee and Children Coordinator, Laster Chapel United Methodist Church. Okay. On to the next comment, and this is from Miss Martha Gonzalez at 4479 White City Road, College Park, Georgia, 30337. And it reads, I want to acknowledge an amazing, caring, and hardworking council member that has gone above and beyond, Mr. Roger Gay. He has made so many efforts to reach out to the Hispanic community and involve us in the Ward 4 vision. He reached out to me and other people in the Hispanic community to aid him with planning events that will attract us to become more active. This initiative itself motivated me and my family to help others that College Park. This initiative itself motivated me and my family to help others understand that College Park is not here to hinder us, but to help us. On November 2nd, we are going to have an All Saints Day celebration, which brings back so many memories from my hometown. These events help create a real community that knows their neighbors and local businesses. Anytime that I need help from Councilman Gay, Councilman Gay has tried his best to help me himself, or he has reached out to the other community members with the ability to do so. I'm happy to see that Councilman Gay embraces our culture and helps guide us through any struggles we are facing. I'm glad that he is a part of College Park City Council. Sincerely, Martha Gonzalez. Okay, I already read that one from Emma. Okay, the next comment is from Ignacio Bahina, 2317 Loud Road, College Park, Georgia, 30337. To whom it may concern, I, Ignacio Bahina, would like to bring the attention regarding my September's water and sewer bill. It has increased more than 300% from the 2 previous months. I went to City Hall to discuss the issue, but with no luck, customer service is closed for the moment. I called customer service as suggested, and again, no positive income. I was told the increase was due to higher rates or I might have a water leak. I explained myself that there is no water leak and 300% rate increase was astronomically high. I usually get a letter notifying any type of rate increase, which I didn't receive. To better explain the matter, my August water usage was 4K and my September water usage was 15K. That's 3 times more under current usage, not rate increase. And again, I don't have any water leaks. Thanks in advance for addressing this matter to the City of College Park Council meeting. Sincerely, Ignacio Bahina. Okay, one more comment. 2 more comments. This is from Tom Coleman and Eileen Murphy, 1993 Cambridge Avenue. And it reads, "Good evening, Mayor and Council. We are in favor of adding a 4-way stop signs at the intersections of Conley and Cambridge and College and Walker. These intersections have been the scene of numerous accidents and are a health and safety issue for both drivers, pedestrians, and cyclists. 4-way stop signs can mitigate these safety concerns by reducing the speeding. We also think that 4-way stop signs should be installed at the intersections of Cambridge and Victoria and Cambridge and Hemp Hill. These intersections suffer the same safety issues as the others under consideration. We realize that not everyone may not fully stop at these signs, but they will have an overall calming effect on the traffic patterns. Those that stop will slow down the people behind them. This speeding and numerous accidents that have occurred at these intersections is getting worse. Please make these changes before someone gets seriously hurt. Thank you for your consideration. Tom Coleman, Eileen Murphy." And the last comment is from Holland Ramsey, 4021 Lakemont Drive, apartment 3G, College Park, Georgia, 30337. I just wanted to thank Roderick Gay for all the time he spent assisting me with the College Park Utility Assistant grant. Mr. Gay has helped me numerous times and has been there when I needed help. Mr. Gay cares about the citizens of College Park. I appreciate all of his hard work. And that is the last comment, I believe. Yes, it is.
All right. Thank you very much. Moving on to item 6, other business. Item 6A is consideration of an action on a request from the Historic College Park Neighborhood Association for an exemption to the advertising matter ordinance in order to display directional signs, beginning October 4th, 2020 for an annual community yard sale scheduled for October 10th, 2020 from 8:00 a.m. until 2:00 p.m. in the Historic Neighborhood District. So Mr. Hudson has made a recommendation in regard to this, and I would presume that we would also have someone from the Neighborhood Association on the phone or on the call. Am I correct? Incorrect on
Yes.
that?
I'm here, Mayor Bloom. Yes, Mr. Rick Pierce, I told him about the meeting for tonight. Not sure if he's online or not.
Yes, also he's on. I've unmuted
Yep.
him already.
He is here. All right.
Okay. This is a good evening, Mayor and Council. This is an annual event that has been ongoing for many years now. Every year, Mr. Pierce applied for a exemption from the postage of yard signs on city right of way. Every year, he has done what he has said he was going to do: post them out in a timely manner and pick them up after the event in a timely manner. As I said before, this is an annual event, and if they have put my recommendation down, if council was to consider placing these signs out 3 to 5 days before the yard sale, and up to 50 signs. The applicants have not given me their names yet on who's going to participate in this yard sale. That comes later, and I will retain a list of all occupants who's going to do the yard sale on that particular day.
Now, Oscar, I have some comments and questions.
Yes, sir.
First off, I think the yard sale is a beloved event, actually, in Ward 1 and Ward 3. I think the neighborhood association has done a great job each year in doing that. And I think people look forward to it, particularly if they're trying to unload some of their acquisitions over the year. That concern I have, and I've expressed this to the emissary of the HCPNA board, I'm concerned about how we're going to maintain safety of our city citizens and of our visitors, because we have a lot of visitors that come to the yard sale. Now, I've been watching national politics long enough over this COVID-19 thing to know that wearing a mask or not wearing a mask for many people is a political statement, not necessarily a scientific or epidemiological statement. So one of my questions is, there's more to CDC guidelines than just 6 feet away and wearing a mask. But if you want to start with those, how is the neighborhood association going to enforce proper distancing and the wearing of masks? For example, I'm sure we have some people in the neighborhood that don't believe they should wear a mask. It's necessary to wear a mask. And in fact, from their political point of view, it's a way of showing that, no, we don't agree. So I don't know whether any of those are going to sign up for the yard sale, but if they do, how is the neighborhood association going to make sure that they do wear a mask? Or if they don't wear a mask, who is going to take responsibility, and even possibly legally responsibility, for any issues that arise as a result of that? Another thing is that how are the homeowners going to know what the current guidelines are? Because if you've been following CDC guidelines, they change frequently. Sometimes it's wear a mask, sometimes not so important, sometimes et cetera, et cetera. So what mechanism is going to be used to inform those who are participating exactly what the guidelines are when the yard sale occurs? And let's see, what else? I sent all these to Oscar, but Oscar couldn't answer them.
Councilman Clay, can we give Mr. Pierce an opportunity to answer your first two questions?
Sure.
Okay, good evening, Mayor and Council. Thank you for hosting this. I'm kind of a support figure this year. I was hoping that Jason Causey, the president, was going to be online to speak to some of these issues. My main concern, again, is the posting of signs, as Oscar has outlined. I'm just going to take a shot at the response to Ambrose's question, and that is, we've always hosted, we've always set up the advertising and allowed for the promotion of the yard sale, but we don't actually take responsibilities for the individual yard sales. So it will be a matter of communication and to the yard sale participants and the yard sale homeowners to kind of regulate that themselves. In other words, if they'll have to wear the masks themselves, they'll have signs. We can support by having signs distributed to the homeowners with the generic follow CDC guidelines. But I don't know that the board is going to ensure that everyone is wearing a mask or following those guidelines. That's still an individual matter. Again, we're hosting and promoting the yard sale and advertising it, not running the yard sales.
Okay, and Rick, I believe that I had some communications this afternoon with Vanessa, I think it was, and I think you guys actually want to move the yard sale out a week as well.
Yes, October 17th, and then the directionals would go the Monday before that.
And I just, rather than making a new application, members of council, mayor and council, I just said, well, why don't you just let's talk about that at the meeting. I don't think anybody here cares whether it's a week earlier or a week later as far as facilitating the thing. And if we wait till the next council meeting to approve it, it just shifts it out more. So if we do approve it, I would advocate that we go along with the changed dates that Mr. Pierce has just mentioned. So I'm not in principle opposed to the yard sale, but the issue, I'm really concerned, and I guess I have a question for a city attorney. Does the city incur any liability if we approve this thing and we end up with a super spreader event? Let's say someone comes in from Lord knows where and visits 10 or 15 of the homes, and then each of those homes ends up coming down, or many of those homes come down with COVID-19, and that then becomes a spread within the city. Do we have any liability for that, city attorney?
No, sir. The city would not have liability in that circumstance. It's certainly not a city event. I mean, it's certainly we're permitting the event, but it's not a City of College Park event per se. And so it would be the if there's any liability at all, would be the liability of the individual property owners who allowed individuals on their property.
And Mr. Denmark, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe the legislature when they came back after the COVID break, basically raised the threshold in terms of liability for businesses and others, that if you come onto the premises, you're accepting the risk.
Yes, Madam Mayor, that's correct. They require the posting of that particular sign, and that with the statutorily mandated language. And I think that would certainly insulate the property owners from liability. But even in the absence of that, just under ordinary tort principles and causation type issues, it would be a difficult showing to make. But especially if the property owner posted the sign mandated by or allowed by the General Assembly, I think that would almost completely, entirely defeat liability in that circumstance.
Okay, well, I want to approve this thing because I think it's been a good event for the citizens. And I will even make a motion to approve it. But I have serious concerns, and the only reason I'm doing it is because I have the feeling, I haven't seen anything coming against it. I have a feeling that the constituents would like to have it. I'm here to represent the constituents, and I'm just saying, I hope the neighborhood association, I wish they had a representative that I know, and I know, Rick, what role you play in the sign. So I know I was expecting Jason.
He is here. He is here, and he is unmuted. If you'd like to hear.
Let me just step in here real quick for a second.
Wait, Councilman Allen, but Jason Causey is here.
Okay.
So if.
Hey guys. How are you? Yeah. Now, as far as you're concerned, Mr. Clay, Councilman Clay, if the participants posted the required documentation, would that make you feel better, or what can we do? Because what we were planning on doing is, if once approved, we were just going to let all the participants know that they need to follow the CDC guidelines, the most current guidelines, whether that is social distancing or whatever it's required. We were already planning to ask participants to follow those guidelines.
Hello, Jason, are you?
Yes, sir. I'm still here.
Yeah, someone else came on top of you. So you said you were intending to let everyone know about the guidelines. And
yes,
so
our intention was anyone that was willing to participate or wanting to participate, they would have to follow the recommended guidelines by the CDC, much like, any business
Right.
is doing currently.
I guess my concern is that even if you have a homeowner that intends to follow the guidelines and wearing a mask, and maybe their kids are there helping and they're wearing masks, what are you going to do when someone drives up and 3 or 4 people get out with no masks? They aren't even from College Park. As we know, a lot of people come from elsewhere for this event, and decide to visit the yard sale. We're going to have incidents of exposure, and I just don't see how you police them. But I'm going to move to approve this with the thought that you guys really want to handle it.
Yes, sir.
But I'm saying in advance that I don't feel comfortable about it. That's all.
Councilman Allen.
Let's pop in here as well and say that, as long as they follow the current CDC guidelines, perhaps they post, that everybody must wear a face mask that come in. Maybe they have extra face masks for those that do not have them. If you do not want to participate and it bothers you, then you don't participate. If you do not want to buy or go out and shop at these, then you do not do that. So I think it's a great thing for the neighborhood. And, I like to see the people out. It does scare me a little bit, like I'm gay, but, we could be scared, till next year. So I think, in my opinion, I think it's a good thing. And I'll be willing to make a motion or second.
I just want to make sure that we're clear. Councilman Clay, you move forward on making the motion, but everything gets bumped up 7 days, correct? Just the display starts October 11th, and this yard sale itself is scheduled for October 17th. I just want to be clear about that in the motion.
It's moved a week later,
correct. So we're just adding 7 to both.
That's the motion I'm making. Yes.
All right. And Councilman Allen, are you seconding that?
I will second that motion.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right. And I will say, Mr. Causey, I received a rather large shipment of masks. Awesome. 2 very, very large boxes. So they are sitting in my office. And if there is a need to make sure that there are masks at every location, I think I have received enough masks for that to happen. So any way that we can distribute those and they are cloth masks, I'm happy to do that. So just
thank you, Madam Mayor. Appreciate that.
Right. Thank you. All right, moving on to item 6B, consideration of an action on a request from City House Developer Solutions for an exemption to the advertising matter ordinance in order to display directional signs to new homes under development off of Temple Avenue.
Yes, again, good evening. Rod Mullis with City House Developing would like to erect 3 15-square-foot directional signs on the city right-of-way. Attached, you have a map. I attached a map on where those signs will be located. 1, Rugby and East Main. 2, Rugby and Main Street. And 3, Temple Avenue and East Main. I also recommend a denial on this application because of the ordinance. I'm turning it over to Mr. Rod Mullis.
Is he on the line?
I see a phone here, Madam Mayor. I just unmuted it to see if they would talk, but I don't see any information from Rod Mullis here. I've got a phone here. I just unmuted. See if they want to talk. That may be him. Other than that, I don't see him.
Well,
okay,
Oscar, we've had this kind of request before over the years. And as I recall, we've allowed some kind of signage like this. it struck me that these signs might be larger than what we've allowed in the past. So forgetting the sign ordinance per se, as I recall, we allowed them, but they were maybe smaller than this. So I'm interested in what we have done in the past. What was the largest signs we've allowed, the largest number of signs that we've allowed, and how long, as I recall, there was a period when we did this, there was a period of time in here, and I don't know, I don't remember seeing that in here.
Councilman Clay, we did allow it for Princeton Village homes. And Mayor and Council came into a consensus that they can advertise, but only on people's private property. So the signs were set back off the right of way, and they asked for permission to put those signs in the private citizens' yards.
Oh, okay.
Well,
And didn't we
I think I
also
remember-
authorize that for the links as well when they were either the links and or Oxford Walk, I think.
Yes, sir.
Were they
did.
also on private property?
On private property? Yes, sir.
Okay.
Okay, well, that's a good point to make.
I have a couple of questions, and then you hit on one of them, Councilman Clay. You said, you talk about 15 square foot. I assume that's 3 by 5, but if it's up in the air, it's going to be fairly high. So I think, maybe we need to have a little bit smaller signs. I'm not against having signs for a short period of time if they're smaller signs. And if they don't obstruct from the view. If you're there at Rugby, you're crossing a railroad tracks. If it blocks the view a little bit, then that could be a problem. But
Right.
I'm not against it for a short period of time. I don't know what that time is. I thought we had done it in the past, and I didn't know how long they were up for.
Well, another thing I think we did, Ken, was I think in one of the cases, we said we allowed them like on the weekends. So they wouldn't be up all week long. And I don't know how you do that. 3 by 5 sign, that's not the kind of thing you take up and put down, I wouldn't think. But I think we're converging on something that we need to know how long it is.
Mhm.
Should we require that they be on private property rather than city right of way? Particularly because of the issue, some of the city right of way, as you pointed out, is particularly hazardous around the railroad track.
How about this, gentlemen? Can we move this to our first meeting in October? It sounds like there's some tweaking that needs to happen in regard to timeline, size, placement. It doesn't sound like there's opposition to it. It just needs to be fine-tuned.
I wanted to make a comment.
Yes, sir.
I had visited that development, and, there's very few business people who are making such an investment in our city, particularly with COVID. I agree that the signs could be obstructive in such a way. I had went as far as to recommend that he even consider putting his advertisement at the GICC board, because it's a huge investment. And, I just think the city ought to encourage these businessmen to be as successful as we can help them.
Wholeheartedly agree with you, sir.
I absolutely agree too. Thank you very much for making that point.
But it sounds like there are some things that we need to get some questions answered on this
Right.
one. So would there be a motion to reconsider?
I'll move to defer it to the next council meeting.
Okay.
And as part of that motion, I would like them to look into, I'd like Oscar to look into the sizes of signs that have been approved and the possibility of putting them on private property as opposed to city right of way, and what would be the problem in doing that?
I can answer those questions right now, sir. I'm looking at my monitor now, and we did approve 3 15 square foot signs for Crown builders down here on Fairway. And they were on private property. I'm looking at it right now, sir.
They were on private property.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so you're saying if we want to be consistent with what we did, if they are put on private property,
The
then
size is okay.
the size is okay and we could approve them.
Yes, sir.
I think I remember some for Princeton Village and Princeton Court, you know, being up there giving directional signs on city property. Smaller than that, but I think I remember seeing some of those.
Well, maybe we need a combination, Ken, that we have that the larger ones are on private property, as was done for Crown. And then perhaps on the weekends, when you expect a lot more traffic, that you would have the smaller ones, like some of the real estate places put out. When they're, they have an open house on a home, they'll put a sign out for 8 hours on a Saturday or something like that. And that might be something that we could do.
I think we need to.
It's primarily in your ward anyhow.
That is true.
Yeah, I think they need to do a little tweaking.
Okay, so how do you want to handle it? Do you want to revisit it in October, or would you, with the information that Mr. Hudson has given us, approve it for private property? How do you want to go?
I'll go with my deferral, unless Ken thinks.
No, I think a deferral and give Mr. Mullis an opportunity to be here next time and make his point as well.
Okay.
And he may have an opportunity to consult with some of the private property owners where he'd like to put them.
All right. So, Councilman Clay, is that a motion to defer?
My motion.
All right. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
All right. All those in favor for deferral of item 6B until the first meeting in October?
Aye.
All right. That is unanimous. Thank you, gentlemen. Item 6C is discussion and update on recently adopted ordinances and resolutions. Anything to add, Ms. Moore? Do we have any questions of Ms. Moore?
Not for me.
All right. And things have dropped off, so I'm going to have to scroll up here to get to the next item. We've lost the screen there, but give me one moment. Item 7A is a consideration of an action on a request to set a public hearing to consider the rezoning of 3907 Main Street from downtown commercial to C2 Community Business Zoning District. Our city planner, Michelle Alexander, is recommending a public hearing date of October 5th, 2020.
Yes, good evening.
Good evening.
Item 7A and 7B are actually related. 7A is for the rezoning to C2, and item 7B is for a conditional use permit. The applicant is seeking to have a restaurant and store, and in the back have fuel pumps, and fuel pumps require a conditional use permit. So for this evening, it is just a request to set the public hearing for October 5th. The applicant has met extensively with economic development and others, and also with Main Street to discuss the plan. They have revised their site plan several times. They still may need a little bit of work on the internal circulation, but they're requesting the public hearing. And so we have our staff report for you showing initially we're recommending approval with a lot of conditions, and also Planning Commission had recommended approval.
All right.
Yeah, and I will move to approve the public hearing date. And we have some more work to do on the circulation. I've given some suggestions. Several other people have given some suggestions, and that's something that we're going to have to work on prior to the public hearing. So I will move to approve it for that date, with the proviso that over the next week or so, we continue to work on the circulation issues and the curb cuts and DOT and what have you.
All right. Is there a second?
I'll second. Are you moving just the first one? Or are you doing?
Just the first one. We're doing
Just the first one.
just the first one.
I'll second.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, hearing none, that was unanimous. Item 7B is consideration of an action on a request to set a public hearing to consider a conditional use permit at 3907 Main Street for fuel pumps in the C2 Community Business Zoning District. A public hearing date of October 5th, 2020 is recommended in this one as well.
And I'll make a motion, same conditions for that one as well.
All right, is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Councilman Taylor. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, that is unanimous. Thank you, gentlemen. All right, item 8A is consideration of an action on a request for approval to extend the professional services agreement between the City of College Park and Kearns and West for consulting services related to the City of College Park strategic plan.
Madam Mayor?
Yes, sir.
So if I may, the recommendation is pretty straightforward based on direction as offered from recent workshop meetings and that September 8th in particular. However, although this is not a specific budgeted line item, there are resources available in the Office of the City Manager and other opportunities to cover the budget adjustment necessary for this expense. So I'd just like to make that fact known publicly so that you all can understand how this is to be financed.
Thank you, because you know that was going to be my next question.
Yes, ma'am, and that's something I always think of, so.
And I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
And I think that this is stemming from the fact that we're having more teams than the initial conversation that we had. We're moving from 3 to 5 teams.
Yes, ma'am. In fact, when we were negotiating this consideration, we actually contemplated as many as 6. However, that 6th team is the Strategic Planning Committee itself. So that would have been duplicative because each member of the Strategic Planning Committee participates in one of the 5 teams. And so we were able to finalize that consideration. So 5 teams covers it pretty well. And I think we're all set and ready to go.
All right. Does anybody have any questions? Oh, go ahead, Councilman Allen. I'm sorry.
Is that going to come, what bucket's that going to come out of?
Yes, so there are a couple of line items from the Office of the City Manager. One, the predominance of it will come from a strategic planning line item. The initial administrative authorization to yield the recommendations that took place September 8th was taken care of from that line item. So of the nearly $20,000 coming from to be expended for this particular purpose, somewhere in the neighborhood of about 10 to 12,000 remains of the strategic planning line item, and some other savings have been experienced out of the Office of the City Manager and other places. So this is not a budget adjustment to be realized via fund balance or any arrangements to that effect. We are simply making shifts within the Office of the City Manager and elsewhere to cover it, but it is available as a result.
We're moving money around, but we're not digging.
I have a comment.
Yes, sir.
So I think it's important for everyone to have a plan. I was reading, well, actually, I was doing a cursor look over Mr. Saslow's presentation, and I noticed, and that's not a lot of opportunity for this, I'm sure, because I do a lot of this kind of work, but I noticed there were no images from some of the other wards. And what I want to say to you is that there's an opportunity to capture a lot of our city. And I wish you would, look at that as you make presentations. There was a city manager before the current city manager named William Johnson, Adam. And when I used to go up to him before I was on council to try and do studies, he used to say, Mr. Gay, at my office is what we call the closet of shame. What he meant by that was that we have hundreds and hundreds of studies and plans. So what I'm simply saying is studies are fine, but let's everybody stay on board to implement these studies and it just not be another study that winds up in the closet of shame.
I wholeheartedly agree with you, Councilman Gay, and I think Mr. Saslow has something to add to that.
I sure would. So, Mr. Gay, thank you very much. Mayor, Council, thank you for the opportunity to participate tonight. First, I have to say I'm saddened that I've been going through several email exchanges with my graphics designer, hoping to be able to show you the very final strategic plan tonight. He's grafting in one last change that Councilman Clay offered up, and so I can't show it to you now, but I'm very hopeful that before this meeting's over, I can deliver it to Gerald Walker and to Michael Hicks, the chair of the subcommittee for strategic planning. That work is essentially complete. As it relates to pictures of all wards, Councilman Gay, I am so sorry we didn't capture all of the representative areas of our city. I can certainly graft in additional photos if there's a desire. I would hope that you pass those along to me. The selections that were made were changed in and changed out according to feedback that I'd gotten along the way. But if we've missed your ward or any other, please let me know. It's an oversight on my part, not intentional in any way. Finally, to your last point, when I started this journey, it was simply to facilitate a retreat amongst department heads, and we've managed to, I think, really engage every department within city government to create a system more than a report. And I hope you'll see it that way once you're able to digest everything that's been produced. Though the point of departure was a set of performance standards that would feed into the strategic plan, as this project evolved, we revised the strategic plan, obviously. We've developed performance standards for each and every department head that tie in directly to citable goals and objectives. And we've developed a tracking tool for Mr. Moore so that he can see exactly who's responsible for delivering on each objective with the plan. Teams have been formed around the 5 goals, and with council's approval, perhaps tonight I'll be developing a charge for each of the 5 teams, and a cadence and a process for hitting certain milestones. This is truly a system, and it is one that I hope that long after my contract ends at the end of the calendar year, that the city embraces and continues to march forward with. It's a work that candidly, and I don't say this often, but I'm very, very proud of it and very excited for what lies ahead, not only for the city, but its businesses and also its residents. I'll leave it at that. And if anybody has any questions for me, I'll stay here for a bit longer.
Anyone else?
Yeah, Adam, I have a question. It's partly for you and I guess partly for maybe city manager. I was going to bring this up during my report tonight, but I have at least one, if not more, citizens that are very anxious to see the publication of the plan. And so do we have a target date now that we can say? I assume we're going to put it out on the website. And do we have a target date when people can expect to see it on the website?
If I may, thank you, ma'am. If I may, ladies and gentlemen, so with tonight's authorization, the next step will be to have an executive team meeting. Our next regular meeting is this coming Wednesday. And a prominent feature of that agenda will be the next steps associated with this authorization, to include direction to formally post online. So given the time frame that Adam just discussed publicly relative to the final publication of the plan with new pictures, et cetera, we can anticipate within the next week or so. So Adam, what I will ask you to therefore do in preparation for this coming Wednesday's team meeting is to give us a specific update to that effect, and you'll be able to work with the Department of Communications accordingly. So in the coming days, Councilman Clay, given that outline, I think that's where we'll be.
Great.
And I'll only add that everybody has in every level of executive and senior management has had the opportunity to comment on it. Yourself included, Councilman Clay. I've integrated 95% of the comments where they all aligned. There were a couple that didn't, and I used my judgment. But I even just toggled to my email to see if that final strategic plan had come in. It hasn't yet. But I'll have it over to Mr. Moore by early tomorrow, I promise. And then it's up to communications and to Mr. Moore and to Mr. Hicks as to when it hits the web. But I can't wait to see it up there.
Okay, neither can I. I think it's a beautiful document.
It is, and I want to thank you for Mr. Saslow, the opportunity for us to provide input, because I know that this has been a process, and I know that you've reached out to each and every one of us as elected officials and taken the input of our entire team to make this document what it is. And so we're certainly appreciative of those efforts. Does anyone else have anything to add? All right, hearing nothing. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, that's 4. Thank you, gentlemen. Items 8B and 8C are both in regard to replacement of equipment at the FAA. Is there an objection to handling both at once?
No.
All right, not
No,
here.
I have no objection. I have questions, so I want to ask on the first one.
Okay. All right. So why don't we handle that one then? We can do them separately. If we've got questions about one or the other, so let's go ahead and handle them separately. So
yeah, I'm sorry, Merrick, go ahead.
That's okay. I was just going to list it out. It's 8B is consideration of an action on a request for approval of the replacement of the waterside heat pump number 12 at the FAA regional headquarters. So go ahead, Councilman Clay, with your question.
Okay. So with this one, we've had it in place for a long time. Is there anything else that we could have done to prevent its demise at this point?
If I may,
Oh, okay. I'm sorry, Mr. Moore, go ahead.
Thank you, ma'am. And Councilman Clay, I've actually asked our property management representative, Ron Wilkerson, to be here this evening in anticipation of those types of questions. So, Mr. Wilkerson, you and I talked earlier this afternoon about preparing for those types of questions. Are you there? Mr. Ron Wilkerson.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, there you are right now. Yes.
Okay, good. The equipment, actually, we've done it remarkably well. As I said in my report, those things only last 10 or 12 years. And what we did is we bought parts back in the time that we could. And that's why we was able to get it as long as we did. But we are totally out of parts now. And there's just no way we can keep it going any longer.
Right.
And but thank God that we did that, or we would have been in trouble years ago.
Well, that was a smart move, Ron.
So thank you. I appreciate that. I try to spend your money wisely. I swear I do.
We appreciate that, Mr.
Making the
Wilkerson.
last time by.
Very nice.
Okay.
Any other questions?
I'm going to move to approve then.
All right. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Councilman Taylor. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? The motion passes unanimously. Item 8C.
Thank you all very much.
Oh, you've got one more. Just hold on.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I can't tell you what they're going to do on 8C, so I know. Just sit tight.
I'm sorry.
Move to approve on that.
Okay. All right. Item 8C, Councilman Clay has moved to approve. Is there a second?
I have a second with a question.
All right.
And my question, I guess, is for Terrence. We say this is a budgeted item. How do we know how much to budget for the item for the FAA when they don't know they're going to be coming up?
Actually, this item, if I may, gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, Ron Wilkerson, this is an item that was included in the current fiscal year operations budget for the FAA facility via the FAA fund. So this was actually anticipated, and therefore this is a fairly straightforward recommendation.
Any other questions?
How do we know how much to put in this budget? I mean, do we have a set amount in there every year, or how does that work?
Actually, that was an estimated communicated to the Office of the City Manager when the Office of the City Manager was finalizing the total fund recommended budget for fiscal year 2020-2021. So
That's
Ron
right.
Wilkerson works to develop a capital repair plan, spending plan, if you will, as part of the budget process. So we're able to take a look at that in advance. So that's pretty consistent. And I believe for this expenditure, we contemplated, and Mr. Wilkerson, I may ask you to chime in to this effect. We may have contemplated somewhere in the neighborhood of about $20,000, and therefore $18,449.50 felt comfortable.
That's
Well,
correct.
the reason why I asked this, I think it's good information for our citizens to know. We're out there working with the FAA, and the FAA is working with us to sort of determine how much they're going to be needing for repairs and so forth. So that
Absolutely.
All right.
Yeah,
any
we
other-
were-
Oh, I'm
yeah.
sorry, Anderson, go ahead.
I was just going to say we were shooting at. I mean, we had $20,000 out there, but it came in at the 18,000, so that was good. And it's going to be really good. The equipment we've got now it's in a mess. We've just recently painted it, but changing that, it needs to be replaced.
All right. So we've already had a motion and a second. Any other questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? The motion passes unanimously. Thank you, gentlemen. All
Thank
right.
you.
Thank you, Mr. Wilkerson. Have a good evening.
You too, ma'am.
Item 8D has been deleted from the agenda this evening. So we're on to item 8E, which is consideration of an action on a request for approval of a power sales contract between the City of College Park and ATL Data Centers LLC. My first question is to Mr. Denmark.
Yes, ma'am.
You and I spoke earlier this afternoon about this one.
Yes.
Are we in compliance with OCGA 36-60-13?
Yes, ma'am, we are. And I actually learned something today. It's a proprietary contract for proprietary service that the city is offering. So when we're selling electricity or water or some proprietary service, that provision of the code does not apply.
Okay. All right. That was my big question.
Yes, ma'am. That's a good question.
Thanks. Does anyone else have any other questions?
I've asked a lot of questions over the last couple of weeks. Do you have any updates that you need to give?
I mean, basically, this is just a 5-year contract with Atlanta Data Center, which is formerly known as Virtual Citadel. And the first 3 years of the contract is a guaranteed fixed market rate, followed by 2 years under the interval rate, which is a variable market rate plus fixed costs. And they're currently operating at 9.1 megawatts and want to expand to as high as 45 megawatts, which will require us to extend 4 new circuits to serve the Montgomery Road and add 16 more transformers, 2,500 kVA transformers, in addition to the 6 that are already there. And also MEAG Power will have to increase the capacity at West Fayetteville substation. So it's a major project. It's going to take about 9 months, but on page 183, I think I showed an analysis in the far right column is our margin for each year. So it looks like a win-win for both of us to move forward with this.
I have one question that I should have asked beforehand. When you add those circuits, when I think circuits, I think of additional wires on a high voltage transmission line. Is that what it's going to take?
No, we're talking about distribution circuits. Will they all be run underground? And there are 2 actually open bays at the West Fayetteville station that will be bringing completely new ones out of there, and the other 2 will be tapped on to existing circuits.
So how does the power get to that location on Godby Road? Is it
115,000 volt transmission line?
And so it's just feeding into that line.
That's right.
Additional capacity feeding into that line. Okay.
I'll move
to approve.
Oh, let me ask this question to Hugh real quick. You know, we're putting a pretty big construction project out there on West Fayetteville Road. We still have enough power to be able to provide that power to all those apartments and townhomes?
Yes, we'll be fine there. You know, we're going to take some also off on West Fayetteville. We're going to move some over to Crystal Springs and some to Edison. So we'll be shipping some load there too.
Okay, that was the only question I had.
Yeah, we're good.
All right. Councilman Clay's made a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, that is unanimous. Thank you, gentlemen. Item 8F is consideration of an action on a request for approval of a service agreement between the City of College Park and Motorola Solutions, Inc. for maintenance, support, or other services for the police public safety radio system. And since the word police is in there, I believe Chief Williford would be our primary point person on this particular issue. Does anyone have any questions for the chief?
I have one. Why do we still show the city's attorney's office as pending on the review of the contract? Actually, I have two questions. That was one of them.
I believe that was simply a function of the time in which the document was compiled versus when they had an opportunity to review it.
I'd like to hear from Winston then as to, have you reviewed it and is it okay, Winston?
I'm sorry, Councilman. I thought that question was directed elsewhere. Yes, we have reviewed this agreement, and it's on all fours as far as we're.
Okay, then if that's the case, on packet page 201, item 17.7, it says this agreement will renew for an additional 1-year term, et cetera, and then it goes on to say, or one party notifies the other in writing of its intention to discontinue the agreement not less than 30 days of that anniversary date. At the anniversary date, Motorola may adjust the price of the services to reflect its current rates. So the way I read it, it says that unless we say we don't want to renew the contract 30 days before the renewal date, then it goes forward. But Motorola gets to set the price on the renewal date. So how do we know? I mean, you know, and I know that we probably want to renew because this is a underpinning of all our equipment, but it still bothers me the fact that we're renewing something and we don't know what the price is going to be.
Yeah, you're exactly right. That's more of a whether we think it's a good business deal. Is it a good business deal for the City of College Park to, unless we opt out, we're bound going forward, but we're bound at a price that we can't know today. And we won't know until they tell us what that price is. Now, we may think that this is such a valuable service and that they're a market-based company and they want to, treat everybody in a way that, takes advantage of their market position and not lose customers. So the price is going to be consistent with what else is out there in the marketplace. Or we could say, well, we don't know that's going to be the case. We don't like it. And from a business perspective, it's a bad deal for the city. But that's more of a business consideration than anything else.
Well, I'll turn it over to Chief Williford then. What is it a good business deal, Chief?
If we don't have a maintenance agreement, a service agreement with Motorola, and something breaks and we need service, we go to the back of the queue and we will pay a higher rate of labor and parts than those who are not under service agreements would pay.
Okay, so
a priority.
I'm with you. The power of monopoly. Okay.
Exactly. Exactly.
All right. I've asked my questions. All
right. Does anyone else have any other questions?
No, it just sounds like we need to be on top of it when it becomes 30 days out before it can do again.
And we're going to need that calendar reminder. Anyone have any motions?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Councilman Taylor. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, I heard 4 voices there. Thank you, gentlemen. That's unanimous. Item 8G is consideration of an action on a request to ratify the city manager's approval of the emergency repair of pump number 2 at the Southeast Lift Station located at 1219 Forest Parkway.
Okay, I'm going to move to approve to ratify. I don't think anybody's going to say no on this.
Yeah, I mean,
the only thing I'd like to do is put a proviso in my approval.
okay.
And that proviso is that clearly from reading this, the job wasn't done properly. The maintenance job that precipitated this event wasn't done properly. It wasn't done according to standards, according to the documentation in here. So in my opinion, somebody owes us money. And so I move to approve what we've done, what we paid out, what the city manager has done. I'll ratify it. But I want us to pursue getting some compensation from whoever made the repair or however it was done, because it wasn't done to industry standards from what I understand. That's my motion.
Mr. Mason, did you have
No, I'm
something?
just going to follow up to what Councilman Clay had mentioned, and that's something that we're definitely looking at. Based on the question that you asked, one of the things that may have also caused it may not have been workmanship, but again, we're going to look at that. May have been the drive shaft that went bad, that vibrated the shaft inside of the motor itself, which caused the problem. That's another piece I just want to mention that as well, that may have happened, is what I'm getting from the vendor as well. And I just got that info today.
Well, then if that might be an excuse, that's a valid one. And maybe we get a smaller amount, or maybe we don't get anything, but I would like to see us pursue it.
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
All right. Is there a second?
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Taylor. All those in favor?
Aye.
I heard 4 ayes there. Thank you, gentlemen. Item 8H is consideration of an action on bids received to perform street resurfacing work in Oxford Walk subdivision under the Georgia Department of Transportation 2020 LMIG program.
Discussion. Mr. Mason.
Yes, sir.
It's somewhat a little bit off of this motion, but it's helping me to process this motion. There's 24 streets in Ward 4. Only 3 streets have been paved since 1998. That's Herschel Road, Janice Drive, and Hopewell. Adjacent us in East Point, 20 streets have been paved using GDOT, Local Maintenance and Improvement Grant. My question is, what is the priority that we use to pave our streets?
Well, there was some other streets that was paved since I believe you said 1988. 98 in Ward 4. There's been other streets. There's Lakeshore Drive, for instance, has been repaved. But to go back to your question, though, Councilman, one of the things that we're looking at, there was a commitment made a few years ago with the development of Oxford Walk, where the city made a commitment that once the property was built out, that the city would pay to have the final top coat applied to those streets.
So this is the top coat. This is not resurfacing.
Yes, sir. We just adding the top coat. Yes, sir.
All right. Well, I get that, but just keep in mind, I will talk to you about Lakeshore. I respectfully disagree, but the point is, we have streets that's been cut by water and sewer, all over the street, and these streets are not getting paved. We need to talk about the priority on how they get paved.
Councilman Gay, I think that if there's an opportunity for us to discuss the prioritization of road projects at a workshop meeting, I think that would be a great conversation to have. But I do want to make sure that we are focused on.
Okay, motion to approve.
Hold on one second. Okay. Wait, hold on one second. The recommendation has been East Coast Grading as the lowest bidder. So that is for $25,783.32.
Motion.
So, Councilman, please let me finish. So you've made a motion. Councilman Clay has seconded it. All those in favor?
With discussion, Mayor.
With discussion as well.
Okay. Well, we've already voted, but go ahead and have the discussion.
We motioned and seconded,
And I call for the vote, but go ahead.
Okay. Here's the question I have. When I look at the results of the bid tab matrix, HEH Paving is a company that is minority owned. It has done previous work with the city. And I consulted with Mr. Mason, Mike Mason, and he said they had done reasonable work with the city. Several years ago, we passed an ordinance that basically gave a benefit to, as I recall, minority-owned businesses that were on a smaller bid like this, that were within a certain percentage of the lowest bid, that they could actually end up being the winner of the bid. And they have done work for us. So I think we're within that percentage. I don't know whether we have our proposal people on the line, RFP people on the line or not. Mr. Moody?
I recall that there were some concerns regarding how that would be structured. But because Fulton County had done a study, I think, or the city of Atlanta, I can't remember which one, but they had done a study determining that it was an issue, and therefore they were able to address it through the bid process. But maybe, I mean,
that's correct.
Okay. All right, Mr. Denmark.
We determined that without absent that study, which would provide a factual predicate for the remedial steps the city was taking, we might be vulnerable to a suit. Now, we also mentioned that the city of South Fulton, our neighbor, had done a study in, I think it was almost like a 6-figure number for that study. So that kind of let us know what the market was for that study or a study like that. But absent that study, our subjective determination that these remedial steps are necessary would not necessarily pass constitutional muster. We would be vulnerable to a suit. And I just think there may be, at least at that time, the cost of a study was prohibitive, and we elected not to move in that direction.
That's what I recall.
Right. I remember that discussion, but as I recalled it, it was the possibility of changing an existing ordinance. And I don't think we've ever invalidated the ordinance on the books. In other words, I think if you go back and look at what the ordinance says about bids, I don't think that's ever been eliminated.
Now, I don't know if we've ever undone the existing ordinance, but the question is whether we were ever challenged on that ordinance, would we be in a good place there? And as I sit here now, I'm not certain that we would be. Even though that ordinance.
So I'm bringing this up for two reasons. One, if that ordinance is still on the books, we ought to be addressing it and strike that ordinance. And that should come up presumably for a vote. And the second thing was, I just looked at this being one of the cases where the bids are very close. In one case, one has done a job for us. We thought they did a good job, et cetera, et cetera. And this was a potential opportunity. But if you feel that there's a risk in this case, then let's just go forward with the vote, leave it the way it is. And, but let's get back and then check into that ordinance and get it cleaned up if it needs to be.
I would like to make a comment. Am I allowed to make a comment? This motion still open? Mr. Mason, aside from the constitutionality of it all, I guess in the spirit of what the council member was saying is, with the bids being so aligned in price, I just think it's something, I can tell you that this particular vendor is one that has been unsuccessful for numerous years. I guess what I'm saying to you is, if the vendor is close in cost but responsive, I would just say it makes good business sense to give other people an opportunity, because when you give other people an opportunity, it builds their business as well. You've had the luxury of bidding on this for nearly 10 or 15 years. So you've actually, done well with people in terms of helping their business. It's an opportunity to also give other businesses, if their prices align and they are as responsive.
So Councilman Gay, are you saying go with East Coast grading and not HEH, or the reverse?
I'm saying go with HEH, but I mean, I respect Michael's decision. I'm just saying it's just time to move to a place that we start giving opportunities to other contractors if they are so close in cost, and do the same kind of work.
Yeah.
All right. Well, there's a motion and there's a second on East Coast grading. So we do need to take a vote on that. So
I think I'm gonna reverse my motion. I'm gonna make a motion.
There's been a motion and there's been a second. So we're going to vote on that.
How do you reverse the motion, Winston? How do I reverse my primary motion?
If the chair recognizes that, it would be you can withdraw your motion at that point or make a substitute motion.
Okay, I want to make a substitute motion that we go with HEH paving.
Mr. Denmark?
Yes.
If we are doing this on the basis of HEH paving being a minority.
No, that's not why I'm making the motion.
Sir, I'm asking our attorney a question. If our rationale is a HEH paving being a minority contractor, are you comfortable with that having legal standing as they are not the lowest bidder?
Well, if that is in fact the basis, then it would be problematic. And I say that in a very preliminary way because I certainly have not reviewed the bid documents, and so I don't know for certain. But what I can give an opinion on is, if all things being equal, if it was the case that our decision was based on one bidder being a minority bidder and one not being a minority bidder, absent this disparity study that we would need to use as kind of the benchmark or underlying predicate, then yeah, we would be on legally on shaky grounds. But that assumes that is the basis for the city's action.
Okay. All right. So, Councilman, you've withdrawn your motion, and you made a motion for HEH paving. What is there a second?
Well, now I have a problem making the second because of the legal issues that Winston has brought up. So I'm not going to second that motion. I'm sorry, Mayor, for causing the confusion.
Okay. Is there a second? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve East Coast grading?
I move to approve East Coast grading.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay. All those in favor of East Coast grading for the Oxford Walk subdivision project?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, I heard 3. Is there any opposed? Any abstentions? Councilman Taylor, did you vote?
Yeah, aye.
Okay, all right. Well, then unanimous then. Thank you, gentlemen.
Excuse me, Madam Mayor.
Yes, ma'am.
AGH paving that died for lack of a second.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. And if you would go ahead and advance the slide, please. Thank you very much. I knew there was an I. Consideration of an action on a request for approval of cybersecurity monitoring of the city's network by Kroll as the monitoring company, Red Canary as the status portal, and Carbon Black as the monitoring software to prevent cyber attacks or any ransomware attack. This sounds like an IT issue. I'm going to hand it over to Mr. Hicks.
Madam Mayor, if I may, before addressing your
Okay,
concerns.
fine. You got in there. Yes, Mr. Moore.
Thank you, ma'am. And this is, of course, related to the budget. This will be a internal or interdepartmental budget adjustment. We do have funding available for fiber expansion in that. So given the current sentiment to delay that a number of months, that's where this $48,800 will come from. So part of this authorization will involve that intra-departmental budget adjustment. Again, not coming from general fund balance or any other resources, just to be clear.
Thank you very much. It's nice when you anticipate, because of course it's going to be the next question, because it is not a budgeted item.
Right.
Does anyone have any other questions? Hearing none.
I got my questions answered.
Okay. Is there? All right. Thank you, Councilman Allen. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? The motion passes unanimously. Thank you, gentlemen. Item 9A is consideration of an action on a request for approval of the 6 West Development District Plan that focuses on implementation, including Phase 1 infrastructure costs, financing options, schedule, and next steps. Now, we had this presentation 2 weeks ago. So, sorry, Mr. Jones, I believe you were, go for it.
I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. Please go ahead.
Yes. I'm asking approval from mayor and council to approve the 6 West Development District Plan. This was presented on Tuesday, September 8th, and there were no changes to the plan. So
I move to approve.
All right. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Councilman Taylor. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Passes unanimously. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. Item 10A. I think we're going to have to talk about this one for a little bit. Consideration of an action on a request for approval to place a 4-way stop sign at the intersections of Cambridge Avenue and Conley Street and College Street at Walker Avenue to reduce speeding and make the area safer for the community. While walking, sure, there's lots of ways stop signs can make things safer, even beyond walking. But certainly from what we heard in public comment this evening, it seems like there's a strong desire for these particular areas and perhaps even more. So, Chief Williford, the floor is yours, sir.
Yes, Madam Mayor and Council. Apparently, part of that agenda explanation got cut off, but yeah, the goal is to try and make the streets a little safer, prevent accidents, both vehicular accidents and pedestrian accidents. I also would like to add to this request, in addition to Conley and College and Walker and College, or excuse me,
Cambridge,
Walker and College, I'd also like to add Hemp Hill in Cambridge. I went back and reviewed the video of that accident from the other night and saw what happened, and I didn't read the accident, the part that I saw, missed that, so the video did help a lot, and there was definitely a problem there.
So that would raise the cost to what, $450?
Roughly.
You said $300.
Yeah.
And
Yes, sir. It's, not a big expense in terms of the signage.
Mayor, I have some comments.
I think Councilman Allen
I'm
had
sorry.
either second comment or question. Sorry, go ahead.
I just had a comment. I just, there's been a lot of talk about speeding. I see it over here. We see it over on other streets where people are running stop signs. And, I'm willing to go in with my discretionary funds if Councilman Clay or somebody will half it with me and pay this. We're asking other people to cut their costs. So I think it'd be a good thing if we took our discretionary money and paid for these stop signs.
I'll get it. I'll take Hemphill and Cambridge.
I'm willing to pay for whichever one isn't being paid for, but
It was just the last one, which is why, I mean, I don't have any
okay.
particular affinity for
or
that
I'll
intersection.
I'll split it with Ken or whatever. But first off, does Ken have anything else you want to say?
No, I just think we need to slow these people down, and I'm willing to pay, I'll split it with you all a third. I'll pay for a third or whatever. We just need to slow some of these people down.
If I may,
Yes, sir.
The reason we're seeing so much of this is because of the way the speed enforcement laws are written in the state. It makes it very difficult for us to meet the distance requirements on the neighborhood streets, especially where there are so many cross streets in order to run speed detection. So we're not able to make that many speeding cases. I can say that the vast majority of citations that we're making in wards 3 and 1 are stop sign citations.
Good.
Are not stop sign.
Are stop sign because of
Are
the
stop-
limitation.
Most of those citations are stop sign violations.
Right, because you can't make the other one.
Makes the speed ones.
That's correct.
Yeah.
So we either
I've had a lot of conversation with a number of constituents about this. I just have several things I want to say. First off, we put stop signs in at Atlanta and Victoria on Lyle several years ago. The neighbors wanted to put them in. We'd had an animal killed, a pet killed out in front. There were concerns about people coming up over the hill too fast and you couldn't see them. So putting the stop signs in actually gave us a fighting chance to get safely across the street here. We had traffic analysis and we clocked one car in the morning, some weird hour of the morning, at around 80 miles an hour. But it wasn't unusual to clock people at 65. So we put the stop signs in. What we're seeing now is that people don't stop at stop signs in College Park generally. And I'm talking about residents, not just cut throughs. People coast through stop signs. They slow down for stop signs. When people do slow down or occasionally stop, if you have a muscle car, and particularly if you're a cut through person, you don't like the fact that there's a stop sign there. So what you do, you rev the engine as fast as you can and drive to the next stop sign and then either slow or stop. We have more noise, engine noise, I believe, than we had when we did not put in the stop signs. But another point I want to make is that I've always opposed legislation that I didn't believe we can enforce. I'll give you an example. The dangerous dog ordinance. We put that in place, hasn't been enforced. I'll bet you we don't have more than a half dozen dogs in the city that are registered under the dangerous dog ordinance, despite the fact that the council voted for it, I think unanimously. But nobody really wanted to enforce it. I hate putting legislation together that says we check the box, that we have approved something, we feel good about it. Yeah, this is going to fix it. I don't believe it's going to fix it. I think it will slow down traffic, and I think it will give people a fighting chance to get across Cambridge safely. But if anybody thinks that this is actually going to be enforced to the degree that it's going to stop people from coasting through stop signs or stop people from blowing through stop signs as they do on Lyle, we're fooling ourselves. So, and I hope all the residents who are watching this hear this and maybe feel a little bit guilty. But you don't want the stop sign in your area, but it's okay if we put it somewhere. You don't want it somewhere else because it slows you down, but it's okay if you put it in your area because it makes your block supposedly safer. I argue that the cost is not $450. I argue that the cost is probably several $100,000. And the reason that is because to add a staff to the police department is probably about $100,000 when all things are considered. And then to give them a patrol car is another $50,000 or $40,000. So if we think we're going to put in stop signs and they're going to get enforced, we're fooling ourselves unless we're willing to commit several $100,000 in the budget to bring on staff to do that enforcement. Now, that's my personal opinion. Having said that, sure, I'm going to vote for stop signs because it gives you a fighting chance to get across Cambridge. But what we really need to do is change the culture in this city where people stop at stop signs and where people don't race when they're not in their own block. And certainly I can tell you the two-way, what I would like to also consider is that the police do an analysis of all the two-way stops throughout the city and consider putting in four-way stops everywhere. I was T-boned at College and Walker. Somebody went right through the stop sign very slowly. I swerved. I didn't swerve fast enough. And I had a relatively new car smashed on the right-hand side. I didn't pursue putting in a four-way stop there at that point. I could have, but I'm not a great fan of adding stop signs everywhere, but I don't know. I'm frustrated like everybody else. I don't know what else to do, but I just want everybody to understand when we approve this tonight, and I'm sure we're going to approve it. I'll even make the motion to approve it. But when we approve it, don't think that it's going to stop people from blowing through at 40 miles an hour. And don't think that everybody's just going to start stopping. And don't think that there's going to be police available at all these locations to catch these people that are running the stop signs. And that's my epiphany. Sorry about preaching, but this has been a really frustrating issue for everyone.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Anyone else have any questions or comments? Hearing none, is there a motion?
I'll move to put in the stop signs, but I would like to see as part of the motion that we look at other intersections. We're just getting the ones that people are complaining about, because I can tell you that in another 6 months, somebody else is going to pop up with a two-way stop that ought to be a four-way stop. It's inevitable, and we might as well get it all in one fell swoop. So what I'm suggesting is, no, we don't approve them all now, but we look into other locations that probably ought to get them as well. That's my motion.
Chief, can you commit to that?
Well, I tend to agree with Councilman Clay to a large degree. The stop sign enforcement can be futile. In fact, a vast number of people roll up to a stop sign and just kind of hit their brakes, take a peek and roll on and never stop. Stop sign says stop. Doesn't say roll through, doesn't say glide through. The stop sign says stop.
I'm sorry, Chief. I apologize. Go ahead.
Excuse me?
I didn't mean to interrupt you. Go ahead.
Okay. The other piece to that, Mayor and Council, may be further consideration of speed cushions and speed humps and other parts of the city to help slow things down. I think you need to take a serious look at that as well.
I was asking if you might be able to commit to the other two-way stops in the city to take a look at those.
Sure, we can. Absolutely.
Okay. All right. Okay.
Yes.
So is there a second to Councilman Clay's motion?
I second that.
All right. Thank you, Councilman Allen. And Councilman Clay, just to be certain, you are making your motion for all three intersections, including Hemphill and Cambridge, which Chief added.
Correct.
Okay. All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, the motion passes. Thank you. And item 10, is it 10B? Approval of an intergovernmental agreement with Fulton County in regard to CARES Act funding.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, that's unanimous as well. Thank you, gentlemen. We're moving on to item 11 is the city attorney's report. Anything, Mr. Denmark?
Not this evening, ma'am.
All right, thank you very much. 12 is city manager's report. Mr. Moore?
Ladies and gentlemen, other than the delinquent property taxpayers report and that for utility customer accounts, I have nothing further. However, we have leadership from the Department of Finance in the county who's in position to address any specific related questions you may have.
Are there any questions, gentlemen?
I have none.
All right,
None.
hearing none. Oh, I'm sorry, Councilman Allen, I spoke over you.
Oh, I just said none.
Okay, all right. Thank you. All right, so we'll move on to report of mayor and council. Councilman
Mayor,
Clay?
didn't we have one more item to approve out of executive session?
I think that comes after the report.
Okay.
Councilman Clay?
Well, I've talked enough tonight. The only thing I want to bring up is I've had a couple questions on what are our plans for Halloween on Rugby. And I know also someone from the Lynx had been inquiring about could they do something there, and but I haven't heard any more from them. And I said I don't think the Lynx would require any kind of police support like Rugby does, being out of the way where it is, not quite downtown. So does anybody have an opinion on Rugby and Halloween?
Certainly, if you were concerned about the yard sale, I would think, yeah, Halloween's like
Yeah,
the yard sale on steroids.
I've been talking too much. Yeah, I think Rugby would be Halloween on steroids. I'm not enthused about that.
Is it? Someone asked me about it yesterday or the day before, and to be honest, I just hadn't gotten there in terms of my thoughts. I know there are some communities that have canceled their Halloween celebrations. I believe at least one in East Point has. I'd like a little bit more information about what other communities are doing. But certainly if the group is feeling passionate one way or the other tonight, and consensus
I
is
certainly,
reached.
you know where I lean.
I have a feel. I'm pretty sure. I'm not a betting woman. I leave that to my grandmother. But I'd be willing to make a bet about where you fall on this one.
There's a related issue, by the way, Mayor, on trunk or treat. I assume we're not going to do a trunk or treat.
That would be a question for the chief, right?
Yeah.
It's usually coordinated through the police department.
We've canceled trunk or treat already.
Okay.
Okay.
And you're planning that Halloween is going to happen in some way, shape, or form on Rugby?
Well, there's no way for us to predict what, a lot of the for Halloween come from out of town, other parts of the metro area. So those people may show up.
If there are no doors to knock on,
yep.
Right. Well,
maybe
we should get ahead of it. I'm sorry. Maybe we should get ahead of it then. If we're not passionate about doing it, and I've heard, not a lot, but I've heard a few neighbors said they're just going to turn their lights off. Maybe we ought to get ahead of it and say, use phase 3 to put the word out that College Park is not actively supporting Halloween on Rugby.
Well, how about this? We're at September 21st. We have another meeting on October 5th. Why don't we take that opportunity to coordinate with the neighborhood association, see if we can work with them, get a feel for what folks are planning on doing, and then just get a little bit more feedback before we come to any decision. I mean, we don't, if we get something out October 6th, we're still ahead of the curve.
You bet. Good idea.
Okay. What else?
That's all I had.
Oh, okay. Councilman Taylor.
Yes, I just want to thank everybody for doing what you're doing for the 2020 census. I think we got about 9 or 10 more days left. One weekend. We just got to get out and continue to do what we're doing to get the numbers up. I just want to thank everybody who participated.
Thank you. Councilman Allen.
I'll just echo again on the census. I think everybody needs to check with your neighbors to make sure they have filled out their census. The people that have moved in the neighborhood, check to see if they had put down the previous address. If not, put down our address. You know, you can, we just need to do everything we can possibly do. One thing I wanted to mention is, you know, when we lose a lot of policemen and firemen and public works people, we don't need to be getting down very, very low where we have to use a lot of overtime and spend a lot of money overtime and wear these people out, do the job. We need to be looking at replacing some of these people. So police chief and both the fire and the police chief and public works, please keep us abreast of what's going on. We want to get down too low where we cannot replace people. So just keep us in mind. Thanks for everything you all do, but we don't want to wear out the people we have there using overtime and overtime. So that I have.
All right. Thank you, Councilman Gay.
He's unmuted, Madam Mayor.
I would like to know if there's some deadline we could set for everyone to be on line with QSAN. I see that we're still reporting all different ways. We don't have a centralized reporting. And the second thing is, with Fulton County going to phase 3, are we going to do anything with the children for back to school? Is there any way that we can offset? If it's not book bags, can maybe we package a personal protection package or something? We've never not supported them in the years that I've been on council.
I think that's a really good idea, and maybe we can circle back with our school leaders to figure out what they need before we kind of charge out and do something. See where they think the gaps are going to be. What do you think?
Is this an area where we, based on the previous discussions we had,
you know, honestly, I was thinking about it in terms of reaching out to the community and asking them for support.
Right.
That's where my brain was about it.
Right. I don't think we can do it.
I don't think we can do it either, but
we can certainly
promote it and
propose it.
Mm-hmm. So maybe there's not. Okay. All right. So we are still accepting applications for our utility assistance program. You heard about it a little earlier from some of the public comments. We received a community development block grant from Fulton County for our residents that live in Fulton County in the city of College Park. And if you are having trouble paying your utilities, go to collegeparkga.com and click on the utility assistance link, and you'll get more information. We are helping account holders up to $1,500 per account. So I would encourage everyone to check that out. There are some qualifications that you have to meet, but please look at that program. The Citizens Police Academy is coming up starting in October. And so you can also check that out as well and give the police department a call if you're interested in signing up. We are also going to be having a program next week, College Park Power 101. It's going to be on September 29th from 6 to 7:30 p.m. We've had lots of questions about power bills, and we're going to be having a transition pretty soon about the actual format of them. And you can learn a little bit about our power structure from the get-go. We are a MEAG community, Municipal Electric Association of Georgia community, and what that means for College Park, because it's certainly a little bit different than a community that's serviced by Georgia Power. And it impacts some of the decisions that we make as a community. And you can learn a little bit more about how decisions that were made even in the late 70s impact us today in College Park in 2020. So I would encourage everyone to show up for that event. It's going to be via Zoom, and I think it's going to be a very informative opportunity for everyone. And lastly, you know what I'm going to talk about. I'm going to talk about the census, because that is the way that we build the community that we deserve. We need to get everybody in this final stretch. As Councilman Taylor said, we've got 9 days left and we can finish strong, but it's up to you and the friends and the family that you have here in College Park. So please, if you have filled out your census, thank you so much, because you doing that and being counted means $2,300 per year for the next 10 years for College Park. But we need to make sure that your neighbor has done the same thing. We need to make sure that your friend down the street has done the same thing. So please pick up your phone in the next couple of days and just ask the people in the community that you know, have you done the census? You can go to 2020census.gov. It takes less than 10 minutes and it makes such an impact in our community for the next decade. So please do what you can and make sure that we all get counted. And that's all that I have. So I think we need to move to, we have one motion out of executive session. It's a personnel issue.
Yes, I'll make a motion to approve the personnel decision made in executive session.
Is there a second?
A second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Any abstentions? I'm going to call for the vote one more time. All those in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
All right. Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right. That's a unanimous vote then. Okay. And we need to approve the executive session minutes. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
A second.
All those in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, that is unanimous as well. It is 9:18, and I do believe that we have concluded our business for the evening. So thank you, gentlemen. Thank you, everyone else who participated. Have a great evening. This meeting is adjourned.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good night, everyone.
Night.
So, Shavela,